Yahshua often made the point that he had come to fulfill Yahweh's promises in the Old Testament, not to start some new religion. He said things like,
"Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For assuredly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled." Matthew 5:17 and 18, and Luke 16:16 and 17.
And,
"Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away." Luke 21:33 and Mark 13:31.
because of the importance of his continuity message, we often miss the truth of the figure of speech he uses to provide emphasis, that the heaven and earth we know are temporary. They will someday pass away. Just when we're finally gaining enough scientific knowledge to truly appreciate the awesome power of Yahweh through his creation, just when we're coming to grips with the fact that he has the universe so exquisitely balanced that a slight shift in any of 100 factors would make our life utterly impossible, we learn that God doesn't intend to keep it that way forever. In an earlier chapter, I hypothesized that Yahweh created time, space, and matter just so that we, his intended companions, could have a place to live in our mortal bodies. It's the only reason I can think of for God to have gone to all the trouble of creating the heavens and the earth. Somehow I don't think he did it out of boredom. But all of this begs the question, once no one inhabits a mortal body anymore, what further need will there be for earth as we know it? Once all of his friends have been raised to their new lives in incorruptible bodies, and his enemies have been given what they thought they always wanted, to be separated from God's inconvenient presence, there will no longer be a need for the things we once considered indispensable: food, water, clothing, shelter, the ground beneath our feet, or the sky above. In light of Yahweh's love, all of our needs will be rendered obsolete. Our new bodies will presumably have all new needs, different needs, spiritual needs. Having observed how God has met our needs in the past, going so far as to create the very elements we're made of, it only seems reasonable to expect that he would continue to meet the needs we will have in our new immortal bodies, even if it means creating a whole new heaven and earth for us. It bears repeating, the wonders of creation, whether of the old creation or the new, are not so much an expression of God's power as they are of his love. Once we get over the shock of the prospect of kissing this world goodbye, we begin to see that none of this should have been particularly surprising. Yahweh has been telling us for thousands of years what he intends to do. Isaiah, for instance, wrote,
"All the host, that is, stars, of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll. All their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falls from the vine, and as fruit falling from a fig tree." Isaiah 34:4.
Scientists tell us that all stars, including our sun, have a life cycle. They are born, mature, and die. Isaiah agrees, saying that at some point God will roll up the heavens like a scroll, as if to say, "Your purpose has been fulfilled." The prophet goes on to say,
"Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look on the earth beneath. For the heavens will vanish away like smoke, the earth will grow old like a garment, and those who dwell in it will die in like manner. But my salvation will be forever, and my righteousness will not be abolished." Isaiah 51:6.
Creatures of the earth will share in earth's demise, but we who are mere pilgrims here will find ourselves enjoying a life in Yahweh's new creation that will never grow old.
"For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, says Yahweh, so shall your descendants and your name remain." Isaiah 66:22.
This is really getting interesting. Yahweh, it seems, may be getting ready to repeal the second law of thermodynamics, the one that says that entropy, a measure of the unavailability of energy to do useful work in a closed system, tends to increase with time. In other words, things tend to proceed toward disorder and chaos. This law has been on the books since the Big Bang, and all of the scientific data ever collected has tended to confirm it, and in itself shatters the theory of undirected organic evolution. But time and again the Scriptures speak of a time when the decaying universe as we know it will have been replaced by a permanent environment for God's people, one that will not wear out.
The world is passing away, and the lust of it, but he who does the will of God abides forever. 1 John 1:17.
It's possible, of course, that this fundamental law of physics will remain in operation, compensated for by the constant provision of Yahweh's grace. The effect is the same either way. When the Scriptures speak of the new heavens and new earth, we should read heavens in the classic sense, the sky and the starry universe, not the abode of God. This is made clear in a couple of passages from the Psalms.
Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. Psalm 45:6.
God is exempt from the entropy that characterizes our universe.
You, Yahweh, in the beginning laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain, and they will all grow old like a garment. Like a cloak you will fold them up, and they will be changed. But you are the same, and your years will not fail. Psalm 102:25-27, and Hebrews 1:8-12.
The new heavens can be expected to be much like the heavenly home of Yahweh, that is, too wonderful for words. God told us about the new heavens and new earth because if we truly appreciate what's about to happen, it will have a profound effect on our outlook on life. Peter put it into perspective for us.
But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in it will be burned up.
As for the timing, the day of Yahweh in its broadest sense extends from the rapture through the millennium and beyond. Peter seems to be implying that this recreation will occur suddenly, immediately after the 1,000-year reign, as opposed to being a leisurely process that Yahweh will unfold over a long period of time. This observation is bolstered by the apparent timing of the first verses of Revelation 21, which we'll study shortly. Once the great white throne judgment is past us, there's no reason for Yahweh to wait any longer with his grand renovation project. But Peter's reason for telling us about it concerns what we do now in this life.
Therefore, since all these things will be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in holy conduct and godliness, looking for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be dissolved, being on fire, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness dwells. 2 Peter 3:10-13.
The lesson is that we shouldn't get too wrapped up in the things of this world, because they're about to go poof. Peter's mention of elements doesn't necessarily mean the breakdown of atomic structure throughout the galaxy, although it could. Remember, he was writing with a first-century vocabulary. The word stoichion means something orderly in arrangement, and by implication, a fundamental constituent, ergo an element. So the elements melting with fervent heat could mean anything from an enthusiastic remodeling of the Earth's surface to the unmaking of the very fabric of the universe, its disassembly at the subatomic level. As we're about to see, however, God's new universe will include an earth where men and nations operate in the light of God's love for eternity, an earth that bears little resemblance to our present fragile, stormy planet. At the very least, it's clear that Yahweh has something radical in mind, a new spiritual environment designed for our new spiritual bodies. This new environment, whatever form it takes, represents nothing less than the lifting of the curse of sin from Yahweh's creation. Paul writes,
"For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly awaits for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope, because the creation itself also will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groans and labors with birth pangs together until now." Romans 8:19-22.
The revealing of the sons and daughters of God is the trigger event for the unveiling of God's new heaven and new earth. Again, I would correlate this with the moment when the last human mortal is given his resurrection body at the end of the millennium. I say unveiling rather than creation because God has apparently already built our new environment. The writer of Hebrews listed a succession of faithful men and women whose unwavering belief in Yahweh's promises was accounted to them as righteousness, but who never lived to see God's plan unfold.
These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them. But now they desire a better, that is, a heavenly country. Therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. Hebrews 11:13-16.
A city? What city would that be, and where is it? Ask yourself, what city in particular does Yahweh say he loves? There's only one, Jerusalem. We've already seen how Jerusalem becomes the premier city in the world during the millennium, due primarily to the physical presence of King Yahshua. Beyond the 1,000-year reign of Christ, however, Yahweh has something a bit grander planned. A new Jerusalem, capital of the new earth, capital of the new universe.
"For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered or come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem as a rejoicing, and her people a joy." Isaiah 65:17-18.
John saw the same thing, but in a bit more detail.
"Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea."
This is our first clue of just how radically different this new earth is. At present, 3/4 of our planet is covered with salty water, and much of the rest is arid, but it apparently was not always so. Hints in the creation and flood records lead me to the conclusion that the world the antediluvian patriarchs knew may have been quite different than ours, a world of rivers and lakes where the earth was lush and well-watered from springs and heavy mists. A water vapor canopy may have blocked the sun's harmful rays from reaching the ground and kept the surface temperature of the planet at very near the same balmy level from the poles to the equator. There were no storms, no deserts, no frozen wastelands. Much of the planet's water was contained in vast subterranean vaults, far more extensive than the groundwater systems that exist today. The vapor canopy could have suspended much more water than our atmosphere is capable of holding today. It is possible, though not explicitly stated, that the new earth will be something like that. After all, in its original pristine state, God called his creation very good. And what about this new Jerusalem?
"Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven, saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them, and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. Revelation 21, 1-5.